Yeah, certainly. Opening statement, bear down. I guess this is my 8th year here in Talladega County as the head football coach, and it's been an exciting summer. We're excited to get this season started. It's always a fun time when you start the season. Everyone's 0-0, and our expectations are high. And these three guys right here are going to help fulfill a lot of those expectations. To the right of me, I got our defensive end senior, Noah Shadrone, going in his 3rd year, be a 3-year starter. To the left of me, junior Sam linebacker, Tyshawn Beck. Beck will be a 3-year starter as well. Started for me his last half of the season's freshman year. And then to the left of him is our senior kicker, Mason Hill, another 3-year starter, and a very important part of our success.
Coach Short, High School Football, Alabama. Coach, could you give us an idea about your roster size and maybe a breakdown of, senior, juniors, and maybe some returning starters?
Yeah, so right now we just finished our last day of summer workout. So we finished 9th through 12th with 89 kids. We'll dress close to 70 of those. We don't dress all of our freshmen unless they can contribute on a Friday night. They play B-team games on Monday. Senior class this year is going to be a little bit smaller than what we've been having. It's a smaller class, but a talented class. We're looking at 14 seniors this year. We are really a young team as far as what we're going to put on the field. Junior class and sophomore class are also very talented. What you're going to see on the field will be a lot of 15 to 16-year-olds. Other than these seniors, we may be playing about 3 or 4 seniors, and the rest are going to be juniors and sophomores. Good thing about our junior class is the majority of them, or a lot of our starters, returning starters coming back, were starters last year as sophomores. So we got a lot of experience coming back there. And then our sophomore class is super talented. But Coach, anytime you start sophomores in 5A football, you gotta grit your teeth a little bit. But we're excited. We're going to need to have some success early. We have a very challenging schedule this year. There's not an easy game on it. There's not an easy out, in our opinion, but we're not running from that. We're excited about it. Feel like we're in one of the toughest regions in 5A, if not the toughest. You got probably 3 preseason ranked top 10 teams in it with Moody and Leeds and Centerpoint. Got a very talented 4A team coming up to 5A with Jacksonville. Springville was a playoff team last year. They got a lot coming back, and then you got an up-and-coming team in St. Clair County that's really good. So, we're not running from anybody, but we understand that week in and week out we're going to have a challenge. Feel like we'll be an underdog in the majority of those games, but we like that. We like flying under the radar a little bit, maybe being underestimated, play with a chip on our shoulder. And then our non-region games, you got a Shelby County opener, and if you've ever played anybody from Columbiana, they're all 6'4" and 250 pounds. They're huge. And then this year, something's been different since I've been here. We've always played Mumford week 5 or week 6. Did I say that? I mean that red team. I don't like saying that name. We play them week 2 this year, and so that is a huge rivalry game for us, for our community, for our school. There's not much learning goes on in our school that week because it's Mumford week. God, I said it again. Yeah, that's the last time I say it. But it's a lot of fun for our student body and our community. It's a lot of work for us. And then we picked up a team, up-and-coming 4A team last year. It's going to be a 5A team this year in Northside, up in the Tuscaloosa area. So that's kind of our long game this year. We'll travel there. We always like to try to schedule a team that we don't see, a different area of the state. And then we'll finish up with Etowah County. With Coach Peavy coming back, coming in and revamping that team. So if you look at the schedule top to bottom, man, it's tough, but, they got to play us as well. So we're looking forward to it.
This question for Coach. Trent from Central Alabama Sandouts. What are the key areas of improvement you are focusing on this season?
Yeah, so we revamped everything really from top to bottom. The 2 words you're going to hear probably these guys say and our team say, kind of our mantra, if you will, this year is discipline and change. We felt At times last year as a team, we weren't a very disciplined team, especially when times got tough in games. Felt like we dropped a couple games that we lost our discipline, and if we would have kept our composure, been good. So, the discipline aspect has been everything starting in January, from how we walk into the field house, how we present ourselves in the classroom, how we act in the locker room. The disciplined approach to our off-season workout, which was a tremendous change up this year. And then the word change, our offensive coordinator last year, Coach Griffith, took the job at Victory Christian. We have a very good offensive coordinator has been waiting to be the OC for us, and Coach Brad Clay. And so where we went from a spread option attack last year offensively, we're going to be a wide open air raid attack this year. A lot of RPOs, a lot of inside-outside zone, and we feel like it's going to be a good change for the athletes that we have coming back this year on our team. Defensively, we'll still be based out of an odd front, look more to a stack look. We've made some tweaks defensively and brought in some different pressure packages especially for the teams that we're going to have to play. Made it a little fun. For our kids, they're excited. It's a flying around type defense based on a lot of different pressure points, based off pursuit, based off turnovers. And then, we got one of the best kickers in the state, in my opinion, coming back for his third year as a starter. Mason does all of our special teams for us, kickoffs, extra points, field goals. He punts for us. As a defensive type guy, I love him most for putting those kickoffs in the end zone, because it allows our defense to start on the 20 every time. But those would be the things I would say. Discipline and change. We completely changed our weight program this year. Our kids are extremely strong. Everybody, I would say 95% of our players have increased almost a 50 to a 60% max increase. We had a kid squat 615 yesterday. And so we went to a completely different type workout, a whole body workout based on 4 core lifts. And then just everything, the way we're going to practice, we're completely revamping the practice schedule. We're going to 2-platoon a little bit more this year than we have in the past. I feel like that gives our players a better opportunity to hone in on one position and one side of the ball, and also allow us to have some other players that can develop and give us some reps on a Friday night.
Coach Bruce Carr, B101 Sylacauga. Time flies when you're having fun, right,
And
Coach?
that's true.
I can't believe you're going to be your 8th year.
Look, when I took this job, I was 6'4". Now I'm 5'11". I'm getting gray haired, But yeah, it's been 8 years. It's been fun.
This one's for the players, guys. I've known Coach Zedeker, I guess, since he was a little kid. I hate to say it that way, because that means I'm old.
Yeah.
But guys, what is it like to play for Coach Zedeker? I know, and please don't say anything negatory about the Coach Zedeker, I guess. But what is it like to play for him? I mean, I know him. I know how he coaches. I know what he wants to accomplish and all that. But what is it like to play for him?
Well, he's got big goals for us. So, of course, practice is tough. We have a good times. He's a great coach, works us hard, does a good job at getting us there. He just wants us to be the best we can. So, I love him.
Yeah, like Mason said, he's a very great coach. He has big expectations for us. He's like a dad to me. I can go talk to Coach Z about anything, any problems. We have a very personal relationship bond. We got a good bond. He works us hard. He wants us to fulfill all goals in our life. And yeah, he's a very great coach.
I can say he's intense. He gets us young from like 8th grade, and he just builds a bond with us from there, and we just grow as a family. That's his big thing, that we're all a family in the football team, and we just family, intense, which helps us handle it. He teaches us to be coachable and helps us out for even after we're grown in life and stuff like that.
Coach Jim Jacobs, FNN Network, got a couple for you. 8 years, one of the more tenured coaches in the area now. What's changed over those 8 years the most about coaching high school football?
Whew. Where do we start? when I started my career, but I guess we can go back just, as the head coach here at Lincoln, you coached your kids. And we still do. I think social media has been a huge change of the way high school kids look at high school football, how parents look at it. There's a lot more exposure. And there's good things with it, and obviously some bad things with it as well. But at the end of the day, it's football. When I started 8 years ago, I didn't have to worry about putting a fence around the Lincoln community. Now even as you have your kids, you have to recruit your kids, and I think that's just a trickle-down effect from what's going on in the college ranks and portals and things like that. Obviously NIL's on the rise. That's coming. Just left the Alabama High School Athletic Association conference last week, and that was the big thing. It's coming. Get ready for it. So I'll tell you this, Jim. I just finished 25 years, and I'm glad I'm on the backside of this because I don't know how I would coach now if I was just getting started. And I guess this would be the way I would coach because this is how it is. But, the kids are still great kids. The X's and O's are the same, the motivation. But the biggest thing is just teaching them to be great young men, be great, community leaders. We do a lot with bringing the Lord to our team. We have a tremendous FCA representative that comes and meets with us every Wednesday on a FCA huddle. We have some really good devotionals on Fridays. And probably one of the proudest moments in my last 8 years was last year. We had a young man that gave his life to the Lord, and he actually asked if he could be baptized in front of his brothers in our field house. Man, it was a hair-raising experience. I get chill bumps thinking about it. But those are the things that don't go away. You just got to adapt with the times as they change. You got to change and try to stay successful with it.
My other question is really about the schedule. Most people judge how well a team's doing by how late in November they can play.
Sure.
It looks like to me that for your team this year, holding serve at home is going to be critical to being around after Halloween.
Absolutely. Yeah. The front side of the schedule is tough. You got some big boys in there, and then our home schedule on the backside we're going to have to. I looked at these guys last year on the last game of the year, senior night, and as the seniors are out there, we have all the underclassmen, and we always, kind of the same speech year in, year out. But yes, last year the emphasis was, man, this isn't us. Not being in the playoffs is not acceptable. We have not accomplished the goal that we want to accomplish year in and year out, and a 2-year hiatus out of not making the playoffs, has to be paramount to what we're going to do and how we're going to do it the following year. So, these kids are hungry to get back in those playoffs. Lincoln's perennially in those playoffs. And so regardless of how we can get in, what we have to do to get in, that's the goal this year. Be a 1 seed, 2 seed, or fight for a 4 seed. We don't care what seed it is. Obviously, we'd like to host a playoff game. But, you got the big three, we feel, in that region with Leeds and Moody and Center Point. Obviously, probably being your highest ranked teams. And we got to find a way to steal one of those or 2 or 3 and then try to win the games that we feel like we're more evenly matched. But, yeah, absolutely. Home games are going to be very important, as they are every year. You want to hold your home field advantage. Because anytime you can go on the road and get a victory, man, that is super sweet to win on someone else's field.
Namath Pitts with East Alabama Now. Players, what does it mean to you guys that Coach chose each of you individually to be here today?
It means a lot. I'm very glad that he picked me to come today. It just shows, he trusts us to be up here, talk about our team, talk about what we're about, and how we're going to be this season. I'm happy he chose us.
Yeah, I'm happy he chose us. I feel like it means he holds us to like a higher standard. He has big expectations for us this year, and I'm very proud that he thought of us in that way.
I'm happy to be here. It just goes back to what I said earlier about him growing us, and it showed that I've matured since I'm a senior. This is my year to come up here. It just made me feel like I've grown up a little bit.
Coach, why did you choose these three?
Playmakers. These are some pivotal players on and off the field for us. For us to have success in the season, these guys are going to have to make us go. Noah anchors our defensive front, and we feel like our defensive front is one of our stronger points of defense this year. This guy's a high IQ football player. We've revamped our defense a little bit starting in January. Noah knew it the second week. Noah gets a lot of people lined up, and then he's got a motor that's second to none. He's very tough to block, and he's a disruptor. Tyshawn is, he's been an inside linebacker for us the last 2 years at a Mike linebacker, and we had a situation we felt like what we're doing this year, him on the outside edge is going to be a little bit better. Game experience. Tyshawn's on our leadership council. He's one of our main leaders. And for him to be up here as a junior, I think will speak volumes to who he is and what kind of player he is. He's another vocal guy on the defense, gets everything lined up. And then Mason, when you have an outstanding high school kicker in the high school game, man, it makes a huge difference, especially in wins and losses. But Mason is also an outstanding athlete. He's one of the state's top soccer players. I think he's second in our on our school record for goals. He's a highly competitive kid. And finally last year, when he started kicking for me, he's like, I'm not just going to be a kicker. I'm going to be a receiver too. I'm going to play. I'm not going to be I'm not labeled as a kicker. But, I think the good Lord works in different ways. Last year, about game 4, I think it was, he's running some routes, throwing the ball, he falls. He almost dislocates his elbow. And, it was scary for a minute. We got him fixed up, and he ended up healing up. And he came to me at the end of that week, and he said, I'm just a kicker now. He said, I'm just going to kick. And I'll tell you, man, I think it just exploded his leg because he wasn't running routes. It gave him rest. And I think after that week, he started putting balls in the back of the end zone. And, man, he's a weapon. All three of these guys, especially these 2 seniors, are prospects. You got a lot of colleges looking at them, and Tyshawn will be one. He's primed to have a really good junior year, which will get him on the board. So great kids, great high-character kids, good kids in school, good kids in the community, but really, really outstanding football players.
Coach, about year 8, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So it's probably 7 years ago, your first year, you was at a B-team junior high game at Heflin. I mean, you talked about consistency, what it was going to take, and it was going to start with your youth leagues
Yep.
and those people that are going to help you with those youth leagues. Undoubtedly, that's worked.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of idea about how well that's gone in the past 7 years, your youth leagues, because hopefully these guys have come up through that or been a part of that.
Absolutely. Listen, I say it year in, year out, I think we have one of the best, not only the youth football, but just youth programs. Our recreational department at Lincoln, second to none. They provide a lot of different sports for the kids in our community. My daughter's being one that plays in a lot of them. But yes, our youth league football program year in, year out is competing for a championship in the majority of the levels. Some really good high-level coaches that have come through there. I've mentioned before, I think Coach Alfred Gross was probably the marquee guy for our youth leagues for so many years. And then so many guys that have played for him have come back and coach. And then the coaches that we have down there now, really good coaches. Young Lincoln football players like playing football. And then we love the fact that they play every Saturday on our field. We get to walk out there, we get to see them. They get a chance to play on that big old pall, and so it just feeds into our program tremendously. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention once they leave that youth league, I feel like we got probably one of the best middle school coaches in the state, and Coach Revy Higgins. He does a tremendous job with our 7th and 8th grade program, which is just the second feeder from the youth to them to us. Gets them well prepared. They're always a tough bunch. Typically, we're competing for that little county championship, and so man, it's what you want. It's a community that loves football. It's important to our community, and it's important from when they can start playing when they're 5 years old till they finish their senior year with us. Yesterday, when these guys were here, we brought the 7th and 8th grade team in as we were going outside, and I think it's important. All these guys, we're able to tell these guys how important they are. I don't think they realize it, but those 7th and 8th graders yesterday paid more attention to listening to these guys talk to them and give them words of encouragement a lot of times than they do a coach. And it kind of opened these guys' eyes too. And so, man, it's a great place to be, and it's what you want as a high school football coach.
Guys, this is for the players, and don't be afraid to answer. But coaches talked a lot about change. We've offense, we've defense, we've got some new coaches, whatever. Honestly, give me some ideas of some of those changes that you've seen, maybe last year, this year, whatever, that you thought were very positive and they've made you a better player.
I would say discipline. Like, he put a big emphasis on discipline this year. That is number one. Like, discipline can go in always. Out on the field, jump off sides. That's being undisciplined. Not showing up to practice. That's undisciplined. We put a big emphasis on this, and we've had players. Almost all our players are there every single day for practice. I think we had almost 50-something guys who only missed 1 or 2 days all summer. And, this has gone back to January. We've been working since January. This hasn't just been a summer thing. Like, we've been working hard throughout the year just to get back to this point, to get the changes that we wanted to make. So I'm feeling really confident about this year, and I know that the changes that we made are definitely going to help us and get us through a good season.
Yeah. Like he said, the discipline, but I also like to talk about our weight program. I feel like our weight program has totally changed us. I feel like we've got a lot stronger. We got freshmen, upcoming sophomores squatting up to 500 pounds, and that's amazing. It's been that young, squatting that much and like benching and lifting that much weight as a young person. I feel like that's changed us a lot.
Well, I would say another thing was our speed, like just working on speed. We made sure that no team could keep up with us. We've been working on being explosive, pursuit, everything just being fast.
Coach, I'm going to say this, and this is for you. How many years? 25?
25, going on 26, yep.
It's very hard at 25 years, especially being a head coach like you have been, to make some of the changes that you've made.
Yeah.
So, and that's a credit to you and your staff for
Yep.
being able to make those changes and see that you got to make those changes, because until you quit growing, you're going to stay in it.
Yeah,
Once
absolutely.
you feel like it's time to quit growing, you'll get out.
Yep.
So I applaud you and your staff
I
for
appreciate
being able to make those changes that these kids are already seeing. That's where I was leading at
Yeah.
when I asked the question.
Yeah, it is. And, as you get older in this profession, you get set in your ways, and it is. But I guess it kind of goes back to the other question of what's the difference from 8 years ago to now. Man, you better keep up with what's going on, because, I tell my staff, we put a lot of emphasis on going to clinics. We do a lot of Glazier clinics, a lot of Nike clinics, and just to see what's going on. What are some changes? To me, it's funny, when I used to go to clinics, I was going to get X's and O's. And as a head coach and an older guy now, I'm going to get character development. I'm going to get player development, team bonding, things like that, along with X's and O's. But, it's just a full circle. But it is. It's hard to get out of your out of your comfort zone. And we put a lot of work in. I tell you, I feel like I'm a first-year coach this year with all the different things we're doing, but we're excited. And it's about getting these kids excited. I think a lot of times, unless you're just, super successful year in and year out doing it one way, a lot of times it can get redundant for kids. And so when you can change and put them in a different environment or a different way of doing things, then they get excited instead of, here, we're going to go do this same drill every time,
How are you a social media director, Coach? That's what everybody's doing.
We got one, and he is a wild man. Coach Crunklington is going to be our social media guy this year, and so that's going to be a big aspect, a big thing.
8 years ago.
No, we did not.
Coach, you mentioned being down in Montgomery last week and some of the things that are coming that none of us think are probably a good idea, but they're coming anyway.
Yeah.
How do you deal with getting your players that are D1 or D2 prospects to understand that all that's going to be a lot harder now than it was 3 or 4 years ago because of the transfer portal and NIL and, kids jumping from one college to another. The scholarships are going to be harder to come by.
They are, and I think you start, and I make it a point of emphasis when I have my parent meetings. I try to have 2 or 3 a year. I have one this spring. We have one next Monday. I think you got to, one, give those expectations, or how hard it is to get a scholarship to parents. One, you do a lot of parents that have a very good football player, but their expectations may be a little higher than what's to be expected. You talk about those D1 players, we need some. So if you know any gyms, send them to Lincoln. I'd love to talk to them about the portal and things like that. But we have been blessed, though, to have some really good players. And the D1 players that have come through Lincoln, their pictures on a wall in our field house, the likes of DJ Howard and Jonathan George. And, we got 3 new guys that I'm excited about going up on the wall this year. Something we do that's special, if you get a college scholarship and play football and graduate college, then you get to go on what's called our Wall of Honor. And so, because we had a lot of kids that go play college football, but then fizzle out or come back home. So in my 8 years, I'm putting 3 guys up. Their pictures are getting ready right now. Stephen White, Cam Reynolds, and Nick Pope. So that's exciting that I'm going to have guys up that I've coached. But going back to your question, man, it is tough. And it's tough. I do a lot of talking to college coaches about, hey, how much emphasis are you putting on a high school kid? I got Noah here who's not going to play at Alabama and Auburn, but could possibly play at a lower Division I, a D2 for sure. How do I get his look instead of you go jump in the portal and get a guy that's dropping down from D1? And so I think you just got to find the right fit for kids. I think you got to make relationships with colleges. I think the camp scene is tremendous exposure for them to get them out where these college guys can put their eyes on them. But it's tough. It's tough for a high school kid who's not an elite 4-star, 5-star type athlete to get to where they think they should be. I tell my parents all the time, if your child wants to play college football, there's an opportunity for them somewhere.
Parents are probably harder than the kids too. Aren't they?
Sometimes, curving expectations, but you can play college football if you want to play. Your child can play. You may have to pay for it. It may be a Division III type thing that doesn't give full rides and things like that. But I also say if your child is a 5'8" middle linebacker, then he's going to get recruited by a 5'8" middle linebacker school. SEC's not coming and looking for those type guys. So those are the type of things we talk to our parents about and our kids about. We have a lot of our prospects on all the national sites. We do a thing where how far do you want to go? We put a pinpoint on Lincoln. We do a 500-mile radius, and we look at all the colleges that have football programs in that 500-mile radius, and then they start looking. We do a big thing about go find your fit. What do you want to do? What is your major? What is the school that offers this? And so, you just try to educate them the best you can, and it's always a blessing. We have been blessed at Lincoln in my 8 years. I think we're sitting on 24 guys in 8 years that have signed to play. And so, that's something we fight a lot, too. You don't get recruited at Lincoln, man. If you can play football, they're going to come find you. We sit on that I-20 corridor, and guys, how many college coaches walk through our field house in this room? It's a revolving door, So, it's a fine line, but it's a good line.
Still matters.
What's that?
The GPA still matters.
Absolutely. And then you got to be able to play. Make some plays.
Coach, we're getting ready to wrap up your section of this, but I know you don't have any control over this, but reclassification every 2 years. Seems like 1 year you're going to be in 4A for 2 years, then you're going to jump to 5A, then you're going to jump back to 4A, then you're going to come back to 5A like you did this year. What is that like at Lincoln to know that you're on that cusp of always, would you rather stay one or the other, or that may be a loaded question, but that is something that you guys deal. I think you guys deal with that more at Lincoln than any team that we have in the whole county.
Not anymore. I would love to go back to 4A. Last time we were 4A, we won 2 region championships. Went and played, an Andy Luge's team in the second round. I mean, I think 4A perennially has been Lincoln perennially has been a 3A, 4A school. But Bruce, right now, there's about 280 houses being built. I don't think you'll ever see Lincoln back in 4A again, unless we go, rezone or something. But it is what it is. I said a couple years back, man, we're in 5A. That's what we are. So we gotta be a 5A team, and so we build it as 5A players. We build as a 5A team. Being a 4A team, the region was a little bit more manageable than where we sit now with a 5A team. That the I-20 corridor teams right there are a tremendous challenge for us as region games go. But, I think we're 5A forever, and some people say, you may look 4 to 6 years down the road, and it could be 6. I'll be retired then. Listen, we're about a lower third 5A team, and we're growing. So when we were in 4A, we were top 20, and that made a difference number-wise. But listen, we don't run away from it. We're 5A. Let's go win in 5A.
Coach, let me end this on something lighthearted. Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea who started the tradition up there of striking out the M in every word for the Mumford Week?
I do. That started with the cheerleading sponsor at the time and a former coach of mine who's now back as an administrative assistant, Blair Mayfield. So we kind of took what Ohio State and Michigan does, and the Ohio State kind of marks out the M, and so we do the same thing. Miss Frank, don't be mad at me now. We do the same thing. I'll tell you what, if there's an M in our school, there is an X through it on Mumford Week, and if there's one missing, the kids point it out and they find it. You guys talk to these guys, though. Let's talk to these guys. I've talked enough. Anybody else?
This question is Central Alabama standouts. This question is to Mason Hill. Do you have any memorable moments as the kicker?
Yeah, I'd probably say Alexandria last year with 5 minutes left to go in the game. We came back and won. We were down, and it was a crazy comeback. We didn't think we could do it. I think we were all looking down, thinking we were going to lose, and then we had a big play, came back and won the game, and that was probably the best moment.
This guy right here. Had
Yeah.
that strip sack.
Mm-hmm. This question is for Noah. This Trent from Central Alabama Standouts. How do you prepare mentally and physically for a game?
Before the game, we'll eat. We'll get our pregame meal. Then we'll go lay down. I'll just get on my phone, play some music and stuff like that. And then I'll probably use the restroom, get everything out, and just drink water. Just water. I'm scared of cramping.
You should be.
All right, this question is for Tashawn. How do you balance your academic responsibilities with your commitment to football?
Well, I always say I'm a student athlete. I'm a student athlete, so I think about class first. So I always say, if you can't pass in school, you can't play on a Friday night. That's how I look at that.